Hello, welcome to Abiding Life Studios. I'm Noah Wells. Today I have with me Shay Wells.
Hello.
Hello. And the one and only Tim Lester.
Hey, hey, hey.
Woo!
Hey, Tim.
Hi, y'all.
I'm no see.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've been playing around all over the place. So,
Oh,
yeah,
great.
It's been a long time since we've even
Wow.
recorded a podcast, released a
Yes.
podcast. Any
absolutely.
Yeah.
For a while there, we were releasing Saturday teachings.
Yeah.
Right.
And so now we're getting back into podcasting and things. It's just kind of fun to watch God move in different directions. And
I
Yeah.
I
agree.
know for a while we held ourselves to this standard of like, we have to be doing podcasts, we have to be doing these Saturday
Mm.
teachings, but God has just been shifting things, and it's really fun to
That's
be
good.
back, to have that desire again, because it's not fun to try to force something when God doesn't put it in your
I
heart.
concur.
I
I
agree.
concur.
I agree to both of you.
Well,
So,
so my question is,
yes.
what's on your mind these days, Mr. Wells?
Well, I had this message kind of come to me a long time ago, and then I just kind of chewed on it for a long time.
Okay.
And now I think I'm ready to talk about it and just see
Okay.
what you guys think about it. And
Okay.
feel free to disagree. I'm okay with that. We'll talk it out. But so we're
That
going to be
sounds
talking
good.
about, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so can I wait till you say all you're going to say before I disagree? Ah,
Yeah, of course. That's the best time to do it. So today we're going to be talking about the desire of your heart. That's in Psalms 37:4. So I've heard other ways of this scripture being explained. And I've never really put too much thought into it until it kind of came to my mind a while ago.
uh-huh.
And then I started really thinking about it. So, you know, I'm sure you listeners out there have heard people talk about, um, hey, there's this church, if you desire it with your heart, you get it. God gives it to you. So if you desire a new car, God will give it to you. Like Shay and I, we know a church that actually gives cars away and gives like PlayStations away to kids because they ask for it. So they kind of want to, I guess,
Play God,
yeah, I
basically.
guess,
It's like,
yeah,
you desired it, so we're gonna give it to you so that you can see how great God is. And it's like, but
yeah.
you did
So
that. Wild.
maybe that works. I don't know. But so, I started thinking about that. What is your desire of your heart? And the thing that came to me was once you accept Christ, my belief now on it is once you accept Christ, your heart has picked the desire of your heart,
Mm,
has picked Jesus. Okay. So now, what do I do with that, Noah? Well, this is what you do nothing. Because now it's God's job to give you the desire of your heart, and that's Jesus. And he will continue to seek you, he will continue to pursue you, and he will constantly try to get you to choose him. And he will also use all our choices. I can still desire a new car and do everything in my power to go get it and go get it, right? Or a new phone or a new house or whatever you want to do, what clothes, I don't care what it is.
right.
But I believe that is not God filling that because your heart has already decided on Jesus. So that's done. So now all you have to do is live your life and go to God.
Mm.
And God is going to continue using our dumb choices, sometimes our smart choices, to bring us to Him. So what do you guys think of that? I mean, it's a pretty short message, but
No, no, no.
to the point. Yeah.
Well, I have all kinds of thoughts. Shay, what are you thinking about this?
No, the thing that I love about this is to be fully reliant on the Lord
Hmm.
is it's the only way that we can be fulfilled. But because we don't instantly get that gratification, we don't feel like we get the desires of our heart, we start filling it with everything
Hmm.
else.
Hmm.
And then we start I have friends that are like, see, God gave me all of this because I desired it, and I'm so favored in him. And I sat there for years going, man, I've been praying for these things and God is not giving them. Maybe I don't desire them enough. I know that when I was a single mom before I met Noah, there were many times that I would pray for uh, my relationship then to work, for
Hmm.
for that to be, the family that I desired and all of this. And although God still gave me that, I was praying for it in a different way. And so then I didn't feel like he was giving me what I
Mm-hmm.
had desired.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think about when Noah and I were talking about this before we started recording, I just think about the women specifically that struggle with infertility. And for years, they want to be is a mom. And I've heard messages many times of saying, God's gonna give you the desires of your heart. So keep trying. He has a plan for you. But when you're in infertility,
Mm-hmm.
you may never have a baby. It may
Right.
never happen. But that feeling of being ignored and abandoned and left behind by God because our focus is on that desire of being a mom and having that baby and living that life, if we were to shift our focus, like what Noah says, was talking about, of our desire being one with Jesus, being with Jesus, our soul being with him, that is our desire, is to be with him. Everything else is just such a bonus. Everything else that he does give us is such a special additive to our life
Mm-hmm.
while we wait until we get to be with Jesus. And I really do think, I had never heard this avenue of
Mm-hmm.
this scripture before.
Hmm.
As Noah was telling me, gosh, 2 or 3 years ago, I think this started coming up for
Yeah,
you.
I think so.
And we started talking about it. I was just like, wait a minute. My desire is Jesus. So I get to seek him and enjoy and sometimes not enjoy everything that he gives me while I seek him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it takes that pressure off of sometimes the message is like you need to desire, I
Perform.
perform. I didn't feel like I
Mm-hmm.
was desiring something enough because he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
giving it to me. So
Yeah.
I wasn't doing enough when in reality I needed to stop doing anything and just
Uh,
him.
Yeah, and I think to Shay's point, I want to add too is like if it's true that God gives us the desire of our heart, like anything we decide to pick, house,
sure.
health. So let's go to health. There would be no sicknesses in Christianity.
Hmm.
There'd be no Christians with cancer.
Yeah.
There'd be no Christians with autoimmune disorders.
No one would lose their spouses or
Nobody
their
would lose their
kids.
kids. No marriage would be split up, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
So, that's to my point of those are, I think, are all great things to maybe pray for,
Hmm.
but those aren't the desires of your heart that he's actually going to fulfill. The desires of your heart is him.
Yeah.
He's going to constantly pursue you and constantly say, hey, choose me.
Mm.
Or like, you know, welcome here. Jesus, you're welcome here.
Mm.
Those kind of simple things where you can do in life.
Mm.
Yep. Yep. Well, uh, so so I'm wondering because you guys have thought through this quite a bit. What are the complaints that you either think people will say about this or they have said to you about this?
Oh, go ahead. You're probably going to say what I'm going to
I
say,
was
so
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say, anytime you simplify Jesus, people don't think he's enough. And how many times in Christianity it's like Jesus died on the cross, your sins are forgiven, you are forgiven. Well, no, because I also need to do this. Or,
Right.
oh, I do desire Jesus, but I also need to be perfect so that he can give me what I want. And it's
Yep.
Hmm.
still a checklist because I feel like the simplicity of Jesus isn't enough for people. And so I feel like they feel they need to add more. It
Hmm.
can't be that simple.
Hmm.
But I know in my personal life, and I think Noah would agree, and I think Tim, you would agree, that when you stop trying to do and stop trying to make everything perfect and you just seek Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and the hard things are a little less hard. The hard things, you can start seeing Jesus in it. And it's like, it's not having that simplicity. It's almost like it's hard to be that simple, but once you accept the simplicity, it's like, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is all I need.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That would be a complaint. This is
Yeah.
too simple.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's another, and you said something like this, but I'm just thinking of, okay, because anytime I get something in my head that I'm pretty sure the Lord showed me, and I know this is just me being pessimistic, I immediately go to, okay, so what are the complaints going to be about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So, um, one of the complaints that I think a lot of people have, and this is kind of on the performance thing you were talking about. So it's not that you haven't mentioned this, but I just want to identify it as a complaint. Is if I have a lot of us come at any point in our life to a picture of what it's going to look like when I get really mature in Jesus, when my family is really walking with God, that kind of thing, like that. And honestly, it's a picture of perfection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, one of the worst times in my life, for instance, was in the middle when my mate left, and so many years ago, and not exactly a fun time. But one of the desires of my heart has been that no matter what, I would trust Jesus no matter what, because I had one, because he says that's the way it's supposed to be. That should be my focus, is that I'm depending on him and over again. And it rocked my world. And I'm not saying on a human standpoint it shouldn't have. It rocked my world when my mate left. And it devastated me. Well, I was there, and you can assume why I was devastated, but I can tell you why I was devastated. Yes, did I love her and not want this marriage to end? Yes. But honestly, I spent countless hours reading books that are really good books on marriage. And I numbered in every one of them the things it said to do. And there's one book that I won't mention because it's a real good book and I want people to dismiss it. But they talk about, if you'll do these things, it'll save your marriage. And there were 101 things in that book. I know that because I numbered them.
Right.
And I set out in over a 2-year period. I did all, and I know this sounds arrogant, I did all 101 things. She left the next year.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is my greatest heart desire is exactly what I want. Jesus. I want to depend on him, because I know life literally daily flows from him. And because of that, I set out. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have a Christ-centered marriage. There's nothing wrong with saying, listen, morally, this is the way I want my marriage to be. Purely on a human perspective, I want to be an encouraging, whatever the list would be. So, but the truth is, I was undone because in my mind, I did everything right. And I didn't get to keep my marriage.
Yeah.
And there was a whole line of people that were out to openly dismiss me because I somehow didn't hold my marriage together.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother discussion and a whole nother podcast. But here's what I want you to get. God actually did give me the base desire of my heart, which was to depend on him. Because I was barely existing. I had a thankless job that I won't go into right now, and I was able to pay my bills, eat, have insurance, and keep my kids from completely crashing. But Jesus held me together. Jesus actually gave me emotionally, frankly, physically, because I was exhausted all the time in those moments. And he gave me the one desire that I'd already said I wanted. And I agree with you, Noah. When I choose Jesus, I chose my desire. So there's a sense in which I had none of I'm not saying everybody ought to aspire to have their marriage fall apart.
Yeah, right.
I'm so not saying it. What I'm saying is, if you are like me, you probably has a list of things that would be the things that you would do perfectly. And you may not say it out loud that if I do this perfectly, I'll get the desire of my heart.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And what I do like about what you're saying, I'm small rabbit trail. It's hard for me to agree with you right now because I've looked at this passage in a radically different way before. And
Yeah,
I'm not even saying that
absolutely.
all I thought about it was wrong,
Yeah.
but I'm just now wrapping my head around this. So
Mhm.
back to the issue. The truth is, if you buy that you chose Jesus and he became the desire of your heart, all Jesus is trying to do is to match your decision making and your thinking and your feeling up with
Mhm.
what you actually chose a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so I would say for me, when I was having the loss of all this stuff, I would have paid every dime I had, would
Mhm.
have changed, would have done anything I needed to do to get the perfect picture of what, in my mind, if I did that, I got the blessing of an amazing, wonderful marriage and all that kind of thing like that. God doesn't make anybody choose him. You
Mhm.
said,
Exactly.
and
Yep.
he lets you make all these stupid choices.
Mhm.
But I will tell you, it's happened more than one time, but that's one of the times in my life where my quest for getting it exactly right, and I'm not even mad or saying, "Hey, I apologize for trying to make my marriage work." It was a sincere desire to do that. But the truth
Mhm.
is I did think there was going to be a payoff on this thing,
Oh, yeah.
and guess what? It didn't pay off. Not because I wasn't choosing it;
Mhm.
someone else chose it not to.
Yeah.
But I still got the desire of my heart,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which complete, total, utter dependence on Jesus,
Yeah.
which he satisfies. And so then the nice part about that plan is whether I get what I really wanted or not, I'm still satisfied. I'm still stable. I'm not
Mhm.
emotionally a basket case,
Yeah.
I may have hard days,
Yeah.
but I'm literally not completely falling apart
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
depending on him.
Yeah. And I think I just want to add this, Tim, to your point of, you've accepted Christ way back a long time ago. I just had this thought, like it's like buying life insurance for yourself
Mm.
because down the road you're going to need it. And, and just like you, when your mate left, you needed it then. And how sweet is that you chose it way back then and you
Uh,
didn't realize everything that was going to help in the present of when your spouse was leaving,
yeah,
And for me, it's just such a cool thing to think, man, I accepted Christ so long ago. Okay, that's great. No, it's God is continuing to what's that word? Pursue me and to love on me, and he wants me to just completely, like you said, Tim, rely on him, and he'll do all these things in our lives or allow things in our lives to have us do that,
yeah,
to have us choose that. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of cool for me. When I first heard the thing, I was like, my instant thought, honestly, was like freedom. Like, what? I don't have to like do a bunch of stuff for you. You're saying since I accepted Christ so long ago, I have it now. I have this thing that you are constantly, well, he's in us, but he's like constantly going, here, come, come, come. So I don't know. I just
yeah.
think it's really beautiful. Do you have something?
Well, two small things.
Okay.
One, I was thinking because I'm a mom, and so
Hmm.
I regularly think about mom things
Uh-huh.
of like, my biggest desire is for our kids to follow the Lord. But then when they do teenagery things, you go, wait,
Hmm.
they're off the beaten path. They're
Uh,
not living the Christian life that I want them to live.
yeah,
And then you start going, oh no, they're gone,
They're
right? They're
gone.
not going
Yeah.
to follow the Lord, and this is awful. And what have I done wrong? And we wear all of these things as parents that our kids are doing. Where if my true desire is for my children to seek the Lord and for them to be on the path with God,
yeah,
I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what God is going to have them go through in their life so that they become dependent on Him.
yeah,
Hmm.
And yet, I feel like there's two people in our lives, two groups of people in our lives that we really struggle with this concept, and it's ourself and our families. But we can tell our neighbor, like, oh, just seek God. He's the only desire you need.
Hmm.
But then with us, it's like, oh wait, I woke up and maybe I'm an alcoholic. Maybe
Hmm.
I'm struggling with an addiction. I must not be seeking the Lord. And we focus on behavior more than we focus on seeking God. And I feel like we focus on our family's behavior and our own behavior more than just releasing ourselves
Hmm.
and our kids and everyone to God, knowing that whatever He places in our life is so that we become fully and utterly dependent on Him.
Hmm.
And just like Tim, you were saying, I'm sure a lot of people were like, man, if Tim could have done more, if they could
Hmm.
they
Oh,
could
I'm
have done
sure.
this. And we've been through many things in our lives. I mean, I know we've talked about our youngest having anxiety and she didn't go to school for 4 years, and
Yeah.
people were telling us all the things we should and shouldn't be doing. But now we get to talk to her about fully depending on the Lord through her anxiety.
Hmm.
Not because God's going to take her anxiety,
Hmm.
not because all of a sudden she's going to have this magic pill of Jesus to where she lives this perfect, amazing life, but because we then have the joy of helping her be fully dependent on Christ, regardless of our behavior and our circumstances.
Hmm.
And our oldest is a very competitive volleyball player. And I tell her all the time, it's not always the result, but the effort you put in. And I was just thinking about like our walk with Jesus, where it's like it's about seeking him, not what comes out of that. Because so many times we expect a certain desire. If I seek him and I seek him well enough, and I do it, if I
rub the
rub
lamp.
the lamp, if I seek him the right way, I will never have a financial, marital, parental, I will never have an issue in my life
Yeah.
because I am fully favored in the Lord if I seek him well enough.
Hmm.
And if my life is falling apart, it's because I'm not seeking him in the way that I should be.
Hmm.
Instead of going, this is just the season we're in. How can I become fully dependent on him?
Hmm.
And
Yep.
allow life to look messy, allow life to come to us, and then also really enjoy the good things that God does give us,
Hmm.
not because we desired it, but because we desired him,
Yep.
he gave it to us.
Hmm.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, a couple things, Shay, just off what you're just saying. This has been several months ago now, and just some folks from across the country that I was talking to, and it was really interesting. I didn't know this on the front end of it, but as we were talking about some stuff, they were very much the folks like the folks you were just talking about, in that they have, you know, I believe God for finances, and they certainly were super wealthy. I
Mhm.
believe God for, I mean, the list just went down, and all of it's because they had claimed that
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
name of Jesus. And I'm
Hmm.
I'm now favored by God because
Hmm.
I've been walking with Him in a particular way. And
Yeah.
so I listened to that for 2 or 3 times we were talking, and I just said, "Well, okay." Um, Rather than me have an argument with you about whether or not you've got all those things because you have the favor of God,
Yeah.
Hmm.
should I presume, since you guys can barely talk to each other
Yeah.
and you ignore each other and you're
Hmm.
staying together? One of you told me you're staying together because you don't want to deal with the financial loss in a
Yeah.
divorce.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Should I presume that God is more concerned about you having wealth than he is about your relationship going better?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, that conversation ended pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to point out to you. One of the things that occurred to me as you were talking is, if I am so hyper focused on my list of what, if I do life right, if I
Hmm.
perform it just well, that I'll get the desires of heart, my list. I think we can easily end up where this couple was, to where they
Hmm.
probably got many of the things that we would put on the list. We'd love to have the favor of God for.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
blind to the reality that there's something else he'd like for me to depend on him for, and it's loving my wife, who's a
Hmm.
horse's behind. Or my husband who's just a complete idiot and
Yeah.
self-centered and so on. And but I don't want that blessing. When I'm in this place,
Right.
I don't want to have Jesus
Mm-hmm.
literally love my husband who's really a bad guy, and I'm not talking about legal things and things like that, but just hard to get along with, self-centered, and so on. It doesn't occur to me that God might want to do something in me in relationship to them, and vice versa. But man, I've got all the desires of my heart, and therefore I must be blessed by God, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And I can be blind that's even an issue.
Yeah.
Because I've got my list.
Yeah.
Of what getting the desires of my heart looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then to conclude it, what is the desire of your heart?
Jesus. I accepted Christ.
Yeah.
He is fully Jesus. That's it. And it is that easy.
Yeah.
You know how hard that is to wrap your mind around.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I had it was early on when I was in the youth ministry. It's probably 20. And I was talking to this one teenager, and I mean, the guy was really a neat kid. And I said to him once, and I said, well, I sent you, I told you last week when we were talking, why don't you go seek the Lord and see what you think he's leading you to tell you, and the things that are really important for you. And we weren't talking about desire of heart, but that's, functionally, that's what we're talking about. And he comes back, and I said, so what's up? And he says, I don't want to talk about it. And I said, well, why not? Did you do that badly on the list the Lord gave you, if he gave you a list or anything? And so he says, oh, no, I know exactly what he wants. And I said, great. And he says, no, it's not great. Because he told me that all the stuff I'm excelling in right now, there's nothing wrong with any of it. But all that stuff is the stuff that I want more than him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, so you're telling me Jesus said he's going to take all that away from me? He says, no. He just I feel like he was just asking me to invite him to be enough for me.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, what's the problem with that? And he says, most honest answer I ever got from anybody ever. Oh, I'm afraid if all I want is Jesus, I won't get to do any of this other stuff.
Yeah.
And I really, really like it. I really, really want it.
Yeah. Right.
And I thought that was very interesting. And it speaks to the desire of the heart. So the truth is right now, although he had Jesus, and Jesus was going to honor the desires of his heart, he was choosing other things for that time. And honestly, I don't know if the kid ever made the decision, because he never came back to see me again.
Interesting.
So we can choose. And that's the only other thing that I wanted to say about that. I really appreciate what you had to say, is I can run for a long time before Jesus gets me convinced to operate in what I already chose by choosing other things, choosing boneheaded, stupid stuff.
Yeah. And I think a lot of things we don't understand, just to the point of that story, is we think if we choose Jesus, then he's not going to let me do all the fun stuff I want to do. That's not true. He just wants you to choose him first.
Absolutely.
That's it. And really say, God, come with me in this.
Yes.
God wants to be a part of everything we do in life.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with desiring more money or a bigger house, there's nothing wrong with that. But are you seeking the Lord while you're going to work? Are you seeking the Lord while you're working on your marriage? Are you seeking the Lord first and seeing what he does for that? Because I think it comes down to a lot of us go, if I had more money, I'd be happier. If I had a bigger house, I'd be happier. If my marriage were fixed, I'd be happier. When our happiness is just temporary compared to eternity.
Yep.
Where it's like, and even then, you get a new house, it's beautiful, and then you go, who's gonna clean this? Who's gonna decorate this? Wait, this actually is not what I desired. This is
absolutely.
You bank more money, you gotta pay more taxes. Rough.
So that's all I got for you on this for right now. I'm honestly, I'm gonna work really, really hard to disagree with you about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. We'll do another podcast on it if you
There
can come
might
up
be a
with.
part. Yeah, there might be a
Yeah,
part two. I just can't think of what it would be right now.
yeah.
Perfect.
Well, I wish you luck. Because for me, it feels pretty good to just trust in him, see God in all of it,
Uh,
and he's going to continue pursuing me. And I love
yep,
that.
yep,
I mean,
yep.
just that alone, I love just the thought of him continuing to pursue me
Yeah,
Uh,
just taking life as it
as it
comes to
comes. Yeah,
you,
yeah,
knowing
right.
that he's right there
yeah,
in you, and you get to just seek him no matter what comes your way.
yeah. And even when you're seeking him, like I think we've all talked about, doesn't mean you're going to get everything.
No.
You know, like I remember when I was praying to him one night because I was in so much pain with one of my autoimmune disorders. I was like, God, just please, I don't understand why you're taking so long to heal me. Why don't you
Yep.
just heal me already? Like, what's the trouble? So I said, will you please heal me? And he just said, no. I was like,
Oh,
okay.
great.
Well, since I see God in everything, I'm going to go to a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm going to see and then bring God with me. God,
Mhm.
help me find the right doctor. And he did. And now I'm taking a medicine that I'm doing great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, that's just part of his plan too. You know, he's not
Right.
always going to go, oh, yeah, you're healed.
He's not a magical genie,
No.
but we oftentimes feel like if we're good enough, he is a genie.
Hmm.
Uh,
Give us whatever we want if we're good enough.
Hmm.
right.
And I think that's the dangerous
I
part.
think that's the dangerous part as well.
Because then
I
if
agree.
you start getting your stuff, oh, I'm better than you.
100%.
And that gets dangerous, I think, if
Yeah.
when Christians start acting like they're better than
Yep.
another. Not good idea. But probably for another podcast.
Yep.
That's right.
Desire of
That's
your
right.
heart. That's what I've been chewing on for 2 years and finally sharing it.
Thanks
Well,
for
that's good. Well, thank you, Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
thanks.
just you blew up my line of thinking. I've got to go start all over again.
Yeah, there you go. I hope it bugs you and keeps you up at night.
I appreciate it, man.
All right.
for
Love you.
listening.
Yeah. Thanks for
Love
listening.
you guys.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.